You're listening to the scientific radio of the unknown, one of the most interesting podcasts on the internet.
I'm in the unknown.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Scientific Radio of the Unknown. My name is Carson French, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Brandon Kalick.
Howdy, y'all.
It has been over, I think about a year and a half since our last episode. So we're very sorry to leave our loyal fans without any new episodes for a while, but we have been very busy doing numerous research projects in many different areas, and but now it's time for us to return to what we do best, is researching the unknown.
That's right. It's good to be back. Scientific researchers of the unknown, but now we're on Scientific Radio of the Unknown, and we're going to elaborate more. We're going to get new celebrities, new guests, and we're going to get into new topics to bring you the new scoop on the paranormal and in the unknown.
Exactly. One thing I wanted to talk about was some of the stuff that we've been doing, because I know that you guys have been wondering, like, where have they been? They must be doing something important. And yes, that is true. I was invited by Professor Mishra from the University of California, Los Angeles, to do a lecture at UCLA about the unknown. So that was something that took a lot of time to prepare. I put hundreds of hours of research into that presentation, and you can watch that on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. And another thing that we did was the last two Halloweens, we did our second and third annual Halloween live stream, which they were both very successful, very dangerous. I know Brandon, you called into one of them. And yeah, some of the findings we found were a haunted doll at the portal to hell in Pasadena. There was a haunted doll that was moving around. We didn't see it move, but it would move to different locations. And this doll was in the tunnel that is known as the portal to hell. And we also had some other investigations. We were investigating a cryptid known as the Green Demon in Griffith Park. And what we found when we were looking around this area was an old abandoned zoo. We found all these rusty cages everywhere. We explored through them, and we think that it's what used to be a zoo. So we didn't actually find the Green Demon, but we found a lot of interesting clues on what his origins could be. So Brandon, what's some stuff that you've been up to?
So lately, I've been kind of investigating and seeing new possibilities around the Inland Empire in terms of paranormal activity. A little bit longer ago, about a year ago, I know that me and a couple other investigators were looking into the effects of our last investigation of Dyer Lane and our small investigations around the Sacramento area in various little spots that have paranormal suspicions, but no specific paranormal sightings or any phenomena that's been spotted. But in conclusion, we've discovered that Dyer Lane is still more dangerous than ever, and that there needs to be more paranormal awareness that is taken around here. So we need to take action a lot more for the paranormal.
Exactly. And let's jump into Dyer Lane now that we're on the topic. Um, I'm sure many of our listeners already know about Dyer Lane since we've done so many investigations, but for the listeners that don't know, the new listeners who might be like, what is this? What is this place, Dyer Lane? Is it just a normal road? No, it isn't just a normal road. And this road and the land surrounding this road has been cursed for generations. Um, Brandon, do you maybe want to explain like the history of Dyer Lane regarding the witches?
Sure. So there were many witches that were uh there were many people in the past that were burned at the stake or claimed as witches, and this was during the 19th and 18th centuries, before this is previously known as Dyer Lane, but also getting into the more modern era as well. And this area has had, I mean, a plethora of hauntings. I mean, we're looking at um random ghost sightings, we're looking at witch trials, we're looking at random murders, uh clueless disappearances.
Hmm.
There's so much that has gone on there, and so much more that needs to be seen about that place, because on the forefront you go there and you see that it's just, a nice field and a strange eerie road with weird trees and shrubs around it and random objects. But on the other side, on the spiritual side of things, there's something lurking there. And everything that's there plays a part and is a piece of a larger element within this area.
Right. Um, and if you've been to this place, you know that when you're there, even during the daytime, there's just something off. There's something not right. When you're driving down that road, you feel like you're being watched by something like you feel like you're being stalked by a predator, which is a very uncomfortable feeling as someone who humans, we don't really have to deal with this type of stuff a lot. So it's very interesting. And if anyone is in the Sacramento area, Dyer Lane is located in downtown Roseville. We can put up a map on the YouTube version of this video, but basically, um, one of the theories behind why Dyer Lane is so haunted is, besides the curses that the witches have put on Dyer Lane, is that it is the only way to get in and out of Sacramento that's not on the main freeway. So this is an area, whether you think it's haunted or not, at the end of the day, this is an area with a lot of crime. This is where criminals will drive in and out to avoid detection of police. There are many dead bodies of humans and animals that are found on this road where they're just dumped. So if you are going to go research that area, we want you to be very careful. And we're going to tell you the stories of the 4 times we have been to Dyer Lane, and we're going to tell you everything that happened, everything that's happened during our experiences on this road, so you can know just about how dangerous this place is.
Right. And we must stress once again, for all our viewers and those tuning in, please, please, please never investigate alone, because you
Yes,
really don't know some of these areas and the spiritual connotations behind these kind of areas. So we highly, highly stress and emphasize. I mean, we can't say it anymore. Please go with somebody, and please stay together.
exactly. All right, Brandon. So let's talk about the first time we went to Dyer Lane. This was back in 2018. We're seniors in high school. You know, um, it's kind of hard for me to admit this, but I haven't always been an expert in paranormal research. And back then, this is when we were new to the paranormal research area. And basically, this was our first investigation as the scientific researchers of the unknown. And we had a group of about 15, 20 people, would you say? 15, 20 people?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say 15 to 20 people. It was a pretty
Yeah.
large size group, and I felt a lot more comfortable going with a group like that to a place like that.
Exactly. And the early history of Srotu is kind of unknown to a lot of people because during those early investigations, we weren't really filming that much. But basically, we started off as a much larger organization. And then after this investigation, um, there were a lot of people who couldn't handle it because they didn't realize, like, oh, this is real. This is real stuff. This isn't just a game. So unfortunately, a lot of people left the team, and that's why we're such a smaller team now. But it's because of this place, Dyer Lane. And um, that's why we tell you you have to be prepared if you're going to go on a paranormal investigation. Always have a plan and always bring other researchers. Never go alone because you never know what is going to happen.
Right. This is not the place for the faint of heart. You have to be prepared coming in and understanding what you could expect, or at least have some expectation of what you're going to see and what you're going to encounter. Because when we went, we came pretty prepared. We came with a large group, as Carson said. And, we saw some things that were really, really questionable in terms of their appearance, for one, and then also just the fact that they were on that road in the first place.
Mm-hmm. So, uh, we do have footage of, we have a little bit of footage of that first investigation. Although we weren't planning on filming a documentary, we do have some footage that was added to the Dyer Lane Beyond Paranormal documentary, which is on Amazon Prime and is also on YouTube now as well. But basically, the beginning of that documentary is our first investigation in 2018, and we take some clips of that. And basically, what happened was we were all walking along the road. It's late at night, dark. There's a couple other cars parked off to the side where we don't know who these people are. It's mysterious because we're out in the middle of nowhere, out in just farmland, empty farmland too. And it's late at night. We don't know who these people are. So that's one thing that's a little mysterious, is why are they watching us? And what are they doing in such a dark area if they're not doing paranormal investigation? And then another thing was, as we were walking along the side of the road, we find a doll of a baby, like a baby doll with its head ripped off. And this thing just had a very dark energy. It was very disturbing. As soon as we found it, you could just feel the tension just rise. After we found the doll, we were kind of walking around. Nothing else was really happening. And basically, this is one thing that I like to do on a lot of investigations is I tell everyone to just take like a 1 minute to just everyone just be silent, stop moving, and just listen. So we all took a break, 1 minute. We were all silent and we start listening. And then on the horizon, you can see red and blue flashing lights, and you can hear a siren coming down the road. So we thought that the police were after us because there was obviously a police car coming at us. And we're like, where did this thing come from? Why was it coming at us? But we didn't have that much time to think. We were just like immediately, just like the fear overcame us. And half the group got into a car and drove off. I was with the half that stayed. Where did you go, Brandon, when this happened?
Yeah, so I was part of the half of the group that drove off, and the half of us,
Mhm.
I felt still like a little spooked out, but at the same time, I felt more comfortable than most of those people in that car. At
Right.
least the driver, who I know at the time was Everett, and a few other members of the team, former members, Blake Moreno, um,
Hmm.
Ben Segal, and Wyatt Sherritts. We were all driving around, and then like we left that road and we went towards a convenience store. I think it was oh no, it was a pharmacy. It was Walgreens actually. It was the closest thing to that, rural area, to that deserted area. And we were all kind of freaking out because we were thinking, man, like, should we even go back? And like,
So
is it really worth it to continue the investigation in terms of the speculation we've heard about Dyer Lane? And uh yeah, I mean, is it worth the risk? And
yeah.
we kind of thought about it. We evaluated a few things. I know some of us tried to motivate each other, and we eventually made the ride back. And yeah, we came back and we met with Carson's group again, and I think we started looking at specific details on the road. Like I know like there was some signs, there was
Right.
different kind of I want to say like devil graffiti and
Right.
occult signs. And
Mhm.
this
But
also
sorry to cut you off, but I want to get back to the police car. So everyone in that car saw the police car, right?
yeah.
Like, and that's
I
why
mean,
everyone ran, right?
yeah, everybody
So
ran because of that. Yeah.
So I'm with the group that stayed. So we all see it, which is crazy because it's about 15 to 20 of us and we all see it. So it's not just someone like seeing stuff in their head. This thing, the police car comes up to us. Like, keep in mind, I never actually see the car. It's just the red and blue flashing lights because it's so dark. And it comes right up to us, and then the lights go out, and there's no car there.
Yeah, and you heard the sirens too, because I remember we heard the
Yes.
sirens too as a group. Yeah. Yeah,
And you could
that's
very clearly see the lights because it's so dark and it's the red and blue flashing lights. Like that's a police car.
yeah,
And
exactly.
basically, we didn't know what to think of this. We had never heard of a ghost car. Like I had always thought there were just ghosts of humans, not like objects. But what we did was we did some research after this and we actually found that this ghost police car has been sighted by other people at Dyer Lane. And it is because back in the early 1900s, there was a dead police officer found there in his car on Dyer Lane. He had been killed on Dyer Lane, and people have reported being pulled over by the police car on the road, and then they pull over, and then it's just gone. So it was very, very interesting to have that experience, especially as a new paranormal researcher, because I wasn't really sure if this type of stuff actually happens. And then to go in and have that happen, and I'll say it now, that was the most like the most confusing paranormal experience I've ever had. That was the most mind-blowing experience I have ever had as a paranormal researcher, and it was on my first investigation.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that was up there as well for me as one of the most mind-blowing things I've experienced within this field. And, a lot of us, I think at that moment just questioned the reality of like the world of the paranormal. And I mean, it was a big step if a lot really wanted to invest the time to knowing how to approach these kind of things or not. And I guess that's
Yeah.
why people after that investigation, um I guess that's why a lot of them decided not to come back to Dyer because um they just couldn't handle it. I mean, even when you're the
Right.
most prepared, you don't feel prepared to come when you come here. And
Hmm.
this police car too, you know, this type of road it is because it's a winding road. Um, there's certain objects on the road on the side that correlate with the story as well. I mean, there were like different furniture items, there was different car parts, um, things that all were factors in the original story of that policeman's murder.
Right.
And um, that's spooky. Like if it all correlates together, we can make a proper claim that way. And we can
Hmm.
hypothesize that this place actually is indeed haunted because this police car aligns with all these factors. And from that day on, we knew that Dyer Lane is going to be one of the most haunted places that will ever touch our hearts.
And with that, let's move on to the second time we went to Dyer Lane. This was about probably like half a year later, right? So by now
Yeah.
we have a lot more experience under our belts. We know because after that first investigation, actually, wait, let's rewind a little bit because there's stuff that happened after the investigation, after the Dyer Lane investigation at our school. So so everyone on the team went to the same high school. So after that investigation, the next day at school, there were a bunch of weird electrical problems at the school, and basically um like the power went out at school, which never happens. And then that next day, a lot of us on the who went on the investigation were on the same football team. And then at our game, which is at a different school, the lights go out on the field during our game. So we're all thinking that there's some sort of energy that followed us from Dyer Lane that came with us. But nothing really happened after that week. It kind of just stopped. So we were all worried that something followed us, like collectively as a group, not like one specific person, but we definitely felt haunted after that. Brandon, did you experience anything like that after the investigation?
Um, I did experience actually one time of like flickering lights the week after, but it was just for like
Yeah,
a handful of seconds, but it was also kind of weird because those are the kind of lights, like they were LED lights. They never flicker. I mean,
yeah,
these are
that's
like
really strange.
pretty like yeah, pretty newly installed lights. And um at the time I know my family, we were doing construction on our house, so we had just started. And um this is like one of the best lights in our home. And it was just weird because it made me think, man, like there has to be some kind of paranormal energy that's just like a cloud in Sacramento. Maybe it's related back to Dyer Lane. Like maybe it relays all from one area.
Hmm. Yeah, so after that investigation, we realized like, man, we really want to go back there, but I don't think we're ready. Like we gotta do some more investigations, get some more research under our belt before we go back. So we went back about 6 months later. This time we're feeling a little more prepared. And this time we had a lot of weird encounters as well. Um, Basically, there is a thing where if there's a bunch of weird X's that are on the road, and the rumor is that if you stop the car on the X and like turn off the car, then you can't turn it back on. So we were gonna try this, and we tried it out, and like the car like initially wouldn't turn back on, and then it like finally worked after a little bit, but it was definitely like weird. And at like when the car stopped, as it stopped, a black cat runs across the road. And keep in mind, we're in the middle of nowhere. Like this is all just farmland. Like this is far away from any houses. So why is there like a black cat out here? And a lot of people think that black cats symbolize bad luck. Like you don't want to cross the path of a black cat. And it crossed the road right in front of our car, as if to say, like, you don't want to go that way.
Yeah. I definitely think that was a really strange warning at that time. And on
Mm-hmm.
that investigation, I mean, I know there was only like a handful of us. There weren't too many of us that time, but
Mm-hmm.
it was a very eerie moment as well because um I feel like that second time, I don't know about you, Carson, but I definitely felt like the energy was actually a lot more powerful. I think the second time might have been the time that I felt like, damn, this is really spooked. Because at least the first time we had the numbers of people, we had like the eyes and the ears. We had more people who
Yeah.
could at least sense what's going on. But like this next time, there's only a handful of us, and we have somebody recording what's happening. We have somebody who's trying in particular to like identify the source of what's happening. And like we have the black cat and all these factors. And yeah, it just freaked us out because it's our second time there, and it's recurring again. Something
Mm-hmm.
spooky is already happening again. So
Yeah.
we as a group, we try to in our research, we try to embed some of our theories on these kind of things. But some of these things, they really are unexplained. And we're gonna really try to get to the bottom of these things.
Mm-hmm. So after that investigation, we all got back. Like it wasn't as eventful as the first. Like besides the black cat, not really that much happened. I know some people saw like figures like walk in and out of the shadows, like in the distance.
Oh yes,
So
yeah. I had an encounter with that. And I remember the details of that. So we were first talking and recording for the scientific researchers of the unknown, of course. And
yeah.
I remember right after we finished recording and we turned the car that we were all traveling in off, and we just waited for a period of 10, maybe 15 seconds of silence and darkness. And I
Mhm.
swear to God, we saw a, pale whitish figure. I mean, it could have been you know, I don't know what it could have been. I think it was an apparition, and they were walking across the street on that Dyer Lane, like the part of Dyer Lane that's with all the trees on both
Mhm.
sides, and um, with our car faced towards that road.
That's
And we were
crazy.
all staring right at that, and we had no idea. I mean, no idea how something like that could occur with no houses around, with it just being farmland in a complete rural area. And the area that we thought that apparition was walking across was the area with all the markings and everything. That
Mhm.
area is, to this day, probably one of the few places that like actually just creeps me out. Like I honestly probably like can't really be around it for too long.
Wow. Yeah, so we had a lot of people like see stuff, but we didn't really get it on camera. But I we took the footage back to the lab and we combed over every single frame looking for stuff in the background. And I wasn't sure if we were going to get anything, but we found something. And that is in our documentary. We're going to go over that footage. Um, we'll go over that footage in a little bit. The third time we went to Dyer Lane was I didn't really feel like I was ready to go back, but something happened in the news that with surrounding Dyer Lane that we knew we had to go. It was shortly after the last time we had just gone. No, actually, I think it was about a year after.
It was,
And
yeah, about a year after.
yeah, and we start to see news reports online saying that a fire started at Dyer Lane and the whole area got burned. And they're saying that the cause was unknown. So we knew that we knew that it was our duty as the scientific researchers of the unknown to look into this and figure out what had caused this fire. Because if it was anything to do with paranormal, um, we have a lot of respect for like the firemen and the police, but they're not gonna cover that type of stuff. Like some people just can't deal with that kind of stuff. So we knew that we had to go in and figure that out ourselves.
Right. We wanted to determine the origin of that fire. That was our main spark on that third investigation. And I know there was also a handful of us again, but the difference this time also was just the eeriness from, that black cat experience and the police sirens, and also the strange apparition that walked across the street. So all those
Mhm.
factors combined, and then the random wildfire that started out there, that really brought us to a whole new level. That brought us to the edge of our seats. I mean, we knew that Dyer Lane was probably like a gold mine in the world of the paranormal. We just
Mhm.
wanted to find the origin of all this speculation. Where is it coming from? And how are these things happening?
Right. Um, yeah, so we get there. We're with an even smaller group this time, even smaller than the last two investigations. And um, if I remember correctly, we found a like destroyed car on the side of the road.
Right.
Right. And I believe you found something in the car, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I found a notepad actually. I don't have the notepad anymore, unfortunately, but I found a notepad of a cop's notes, and that cop's notes were detailing a vehicle collision in an accident and a criminal vigilante in pursuit. So there was something that was big that went down on that road, and it may have ties to the paranormal because of the police sirens and because of
Mm,
strange apparition walking. I mean, all this stuff is interconnected. This road is a cohesive manifestation of the spiritual world of the paranormal.
right. And yeah, like you said, it's very interesting to find uh, a police officer's notes after seeing the apparition of a police car on that same road.
Right,
And
right.
the one thing that I like about Dyer Lane is you never know what's going to happen when you go there. There's always something different, but there's always something. Because the side of the road of Dyer Lane, there's always like you never know what you're going to find there.
Exactly. I mean, it's a whole new mystery to us every time we go there because it also feels like just the paranormal aspect of things, like the unknown part of it is just changing. I mean, we have different encounters every time, and it may
Hmm.
be related to events that happen in real life that align with these things.
Hmm.
Um, Perhaps people's experiences that are translated into this area, or just the fact that these things are reoccurring. And every so now and then, like maybe they have like a timeline of how they reoccur, or they have some kind of system where they appear and people get confused and then they get curious.
Hmm. All right. So, um, we actually ended up going a fourth time. I I didn't feel ready this fourth time. I knew that something was going on, but the rest of the team wanted to go, so I was like, "All right, let's go."
Right.
So we got to Dyer Lane, and basically, if you haven't been to Dyer Lane, there's it's a super long road, and then there's a 90-degree turn, and there's a tree right on the end of that. And basically, multiple people have died crashing into this tree because they speed down the road and then it's a 90-degree turn and they don't have time to turn and they hit the tree. And this is where we were parked. So we were parked on the side of the road at this area, like off the corner of the road. And basically, this big truck comes down the road and it purposely parks right in front of our car so we can't get out. Like we're cornered. We can't get back onto the road. And this car was full of these people who they were kind of just messing with us. Like we didn't know who they were, but they were messing with us. But it was very scary because it's the middle of the night. We're out in the middle of nowhere. Like there's no way we could get any help from anyone. So we don't know what these guys' intentions are. And do you remember the kind of stuff they were saying to us?
Yeah, they were saying, "Oh, you guys want to come here and check something out." They were kind of, I guess, taunting us in a way, but
Mm-hmm.
um, we feel like they knew something that we didn't on that road, so like we didn't really want to approach them. So we
Mm-hmm.
just kind of just kept our cool and kind of just um stayed in the car just for a minute till they uh
Yeah.
left by because we
Well,
didn't know who these people were and we didn't know like, how they were associated with the place. So um yeah, I mean, because at that kind of place, you don't really just find anybody driving on. I mean, people don't really just chill there. People are there for, um, under some reason of suspicion or because they suspect something that is there. So we were there for that reason. And, we wanted to do further research and um, it was really hard. It was really hard because things kept changing for us and the time of day also, the evening time as well. I feel like that definitely made a factor into the kinds of experiences we've had. And
mm-hmm.
I think you've had more experiences with that fourth investigation, right, Carson?
Well, I remember, so we're on the side of the road and these guys are like taunting us, and one of the guys says, "Grab the gun." And I was like, "All right, guys, like no more messing around. We got to get in the car, and if we got to like ram their car to get out of here, like I just we need to get out of here, because if they have a gun, then this is going to turn into a really bad situation."
Right.
So I remember we got in the car, and then when we did that, they kind of just drove off. But it was still very scary, and I haven't been back since.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really, really strange scenario. And I did end up going back one more time with three other investigators, Blake Moreno, Scott Martin, and Aditya Pratap. And
Hmm.
we didn't, see anybody else this next time, but that fourth time, I mean, I definitely also felt like pretty uncomfortable. It's just the level of uncomfortable gets stronger and stronger and stronger on the extremities of our investigations. The kind of things we find and the time we spend there, it's like the longer we spend, the more and more catastrophic we feel like it's going to end up coming.
Hmm.
So we try to, I guess, in a way, minimize any distractions and put forth our 110% focus on finding out the origins of Dyer Lane. Elaborating on more on that fifth investigation. So we came to the same site and the same spot on Dyer Lane that Scott, Aditya, Blake, and myself all traveled to. And we actually had taken my car. So we all stopped there, right? And we came out of the car and we noticed that there was even more random and foreign objects on the side of the road. And we're talking more than just broken vehicle parts. We're talking broken glass. We're talking like more of those dolls, those weird dolls. Um, we're talking like just like dog pillows, blankets, just weird household item, weird things that don't seem to make sense, like as if like a civilization was lost or something, And we
Wow.
decided to actually, yeah, we decided to go down towards the middle of the road to where we first saw that apparition on the third investigation, and
Yeah.
we were shocked because we recorded the sounds and we turned off everything again, and we had some weird sound frequencies that we recorded. I know we also posted those as well. And I believe
Hmm.
Scott Martin of Paranormal Awakening also has some of that footage as well. But that was one of the most, I don't know, it's just one of the most chilling encounters, because it's like, okay, when you think nothing's going on, there's always something going on in Dyer Lane. And
Hmm.
we all immediately ran back to the car because we didn't know where the danger was. And I got back to the car first and Aditya shortly after, but Blake and Scott, um, they got distracted for a minute, and they thought there was something like watching them, and it was just weird. So we quickly did that and we videotaped everything there, and we took photos, we documented all that footage, and we eventually made it out of there. But I have not been back since, and I don't believe any of those other investigators have as well. Um, Dyer Lane is a place that's constantly changing. It's definitely, a hub for the paranormal.
Right. Wow, that's crazy. And it's so strange how like it's this place in the middle of nowhere, but for some reason there's so much dark energy in this one spot. And it's weird how all the dark energy from the surrounding areas gets channeled into that one spot. It's almost
Right.
like there's a portal or something there.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, and that's just weird because the reoccurring factors, those things make it spooky. And I feel like just based on the kind of group we have, the kind of investigators we bring, I feel like things are bound to change no matter what, you know?
Right.
I just feel like you really have to come in there with an unexpected mindset. You have to be so open-minded because all your expectations they're thrown out the window when you get there. So, for our viewers, if any of you actually decide to go there, and once again, we strongly advise not to go alone. Please keep in mind that, whatever you do and whatever you prepare for, it's likely not going to happen. I mean, there's
Hmm.
other factors there that are beyond anybody's control. So just be prepared for that.
Right. And I just want to add that we don't recommend you go to Dyer Lane unless you are a very experienced paranormal researcher, because that is not a place for beginners.
Right. Right. You have to be a very experienced researcher and investigator to, be able to tackle on a lot of these things in dialing. Otherwise, you're going to feel very uncomfortable and you're going to feel very out of place. And, it's just going to be a waste of time.
Hmm. And if you're looking to learn more about paranormal safety, we recommend studying the Sororitu's 5 rules of paranormal investigation. We already talked about that on a previous episode, so I don't want to go over that again. But let's get into the footage and the evidence that we got at Dyer Lane.
Up and I saw someone walk along this ridge line.
Okay, let's just watch this clip.
Guys, Carson, tell everybody to be quiet. Be quiet. I hear a car racing, but
Guys, be quiet, be quiet.
listen.
Shut up.
Listen.
Guys,
Stop. Let's go try to make contact.
Seriously, shut up, guys. You'll hear it.
That's power line.
Okay, did you see that?
Yeah.
That's the power line.
As we are studying the mysterious noise, some sort of spirit manifests itself in front of us and flies in front of the camera. As you can see here, it appears to be some sort of orb that is flying around in front of the camera.
Okay, wow, wait. I need to pause it. Wait. All right. What do you think this thing could be?
I think this thing is some sort of apparition, or I think it's some sort of energy, maybe that was manifested into the police car, with the sirens, and maybe those other things as well, like the apparition
Yeah.
walking across the street, because it's this spiritual paranormal energy that controls multiple things there, and it can take many forms.
Yeah, and it's interesting how it kind of like swoops over the road. It's almost like the road is like a channel of energy. Like it's like a literal road, but it's also like a figurative road of energy.
Right.
It's like a highway of paranormal energy. And if
Right.
you can see, like it has like this wavy element. It's almost like it's like a worm or something. But why is it? It's obviously not a worm because it's flying through the air. And look at this. If you look in the background, there's another unidentified light.
I
Look,
mean,
and now it's gone. Did you see that? What? Look,
Yeah.
look right here.
Yeah, I think also one of the biggest things with that is just the fact that something in that motion, I feel like we would have noticed as a group. I mean, that wavy motion, because that's abnormal for that kind of area. You don't just see, trees blowing in a wavy motion. Like that doesn't just happen.
Right.
That's obviously something that's under its own control.
Exactly. So there have been people in the comments of this documentary saying that these aren't valid claims, saying that this footage is not genuine, and they're questioning our research methods. So there's a man in the comments named Spirit Talk Ghostly Encounter by Ryan Privy. and he's putting misleading comments with false information on our videos. And I wanted to address this now because one thing he said was your ghost orb is a bug. And I mean, obviously this is not a bug. And I go on to tell him that, you know, I've been doing all this research. Basically. I've been in the lab, and for him to just come on a comment and say, oh, it's not a bug. That's so like disrespectful to our research methods. I mean, a lot of these people don't know all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So I wanted to show you guys a little bit of the research project. So I put together this document, and this kind of shows like all the work I put into just like, so right here we have the frame. Right here, I have it circled. Is it a bug? Now, these are all known species of bugs in the Roseville and Sacramento area. And what we can do is we can look at each bug and see if it matches it. So obviously it's not a moth, because like moths can't like be white and glowing like that. And they're triangular shaped. They're not worm shaped. A beetle wouldn't be able to fly in that like way. I don't know any bugs that would be able to fly like this. Do you know any bugs like that?
No, I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
that kind of motion that's abnormal for bugs. Insects, they fly in a linear motion, or
Right.
maybe even like winding circular motions, but nothing wavy. Like wavies, and that was consistent, that waviness. I mean, that
Exactly.
was, yeah, that's not, yeah. I mean, that it doesn't make sense to say a beetle or some of these other bugs.
Right. So I mean, like we can go take our time and go through each different type of bug, but at the end of the day, like even if like spoiler alert, there aren't any bugs that look like that, but even if there was one that looked like that, there's no bugs that fly in that formation. But I
Yeah,
mean, for people to come on our comments and say that it's very offensive to me and the other researchers in the community, because you're not only putting down our research, but you're putting down the entire scientific method. And this is a
exactly.
method this is the culmination of centuries and centuries of scientific minds coming together to create a method that we must all follow if we want to know the unknown.
Exactly. And, it's funny because this guy, or at least this, the program that called us out on this and wanted to disprove us, and they failed by attempting to disrespect us, was relying on a spirit radio as the prime indicator for all the research.
I know, like who does this guy think he is? He even left some other comments saying trained professionals, elite team, LOL. Like, who are you to say that? What kind of research do you do? So I thought that we could take some time to look at a couple of this guy's videos and see what real research looks like. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead and do that.
In the chair still.
Okay, first of all, why is he breathing so heavy? And second of all, he's recording a screen with an iPhone. Like, literally just post the actual video. Like, why are you taking a video on an iPhone of another screen? Like, come on, man. It's just lazy. It's just lazy. But let's see what he's trying to do.
Oh, it is. That's weird. I want some of your hydrocodone or gabapentin. That's freaking weird.
Okay, so for people who don't know what this is, what this is footage of the Xbox Connect. There's a lot of ghost hunters who have taken the Xbox Connect and modified it to record spirits. So this is what he's trying to do. I've actually wanted to do this in the past, but I never got around to doing it. But I don't know, Brandon, do you think that this is evidence of anything?
I think it could be, but I don't really have like a particular uh diagnosis I want to make on this right now. I feel like
Mm,
there's still more we need to see in regards to this.
yeah, it almost looks like there's something sitting in the chair, like a spirit or something. So, I mean, maybe this is, I don't know. Let's move on to the next one.
Do anything to kick us out? Make us leave?
What the hell? The hell was that?
Are you spirits in hell? Purgatory? Terrible?
What is that noise?
That was really spooky.
I mean, he's not like, I wish he would explain like what's going
Are
on
you
right
in a
now.
terrible place?
And it looks like they're in Locke, which is a town that I've been wanting to investigate because it's supposed to be very haunted. So,
Yeah.
um,
It's too bad that it all comes from a radio though,
I
because
know.
unfortunately that's their only indicator that they have valid paranormal proof. I don't know, it's just, it could be some of it could be authentic, but for the most part, I mean, if you're relying on a radio, you're relying on one piece of equipment the entire time. I don't really feel like that's because you're not diversifying your research. That's really honestly, I'd say it's really poor in terms of the quality of that research and the quality of
Exactly.
claims they can make. And you know,
Exactly. Yeah. Like if you're gonna bake a cake, you're not gonna just use one ingredient. That would be an awful cake.
exactly. And I actually thought this guy was in a different kind of room right now, but once that thing, like, that radio just turned on, I mean, now I have a completely different expectation. I'm kind of, I don't know about you, Carson, but I honestly feel like this is kind of set up in a way just to make it look paranormal. Honestly, this guy just
Yeah.
might as well even be a fraud.
And this video is 12 minutes long. Like, who is gonna take the time to watch all this? Like, I'll just skip to a random point.
Why is the laser grid moving? The green laser grid's moving.
I mean, the thing about spirit boxes is like if you just shuffle through like radio stations, like yeah, of course you're gonna get like random voices picked up. That's not always a spirit. It's only a spirit when there's like intelligent responses that answer your questions with clear words. You know? I
Right.
know there's some researchers that they just turn on a spirit box and they hear like scary sounding noises. Like that doesn't mean anything. That's just shuffling through radio stations, you know?
Right. And more importantly, like, look at the way this guy's, like all his like, his devices and lights are set. Like, obviously, it looks like he set this up. He set this up to be made for like a paranormal encounter, but is that really an encounter? I mean, it looks like somebody's bedroom. I mean, might
It
as well be
does.
hidden.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe not all his videos are like this. We could try one more.
Oh, don't be a dum-dum. My video's about to run out.
Don't be a dum dum. Don't be a do you think that's how a scientist should talk? I'm sorry. If Brandon, if there's a point where you want me to pause it, just let me know. But
Okay.
what was that?
Say Beardo, damn it. Say what? I'm gonna turn you off if you don't say Beardo.
What? All right, I can't watch.
Now
I
this
can't
guy
watch
is
anymore.
yeah, this guy now is, taunting and threatening his equipment if it doesn't, provide the evidence for him. See, this is how desperate some people can be because they hate on us for actually implementing the proper scientific method and going through each step in the process, taking in our factors, analyzing the data, and making a proper claim. But this guy can't do that.
Exactly.
This guy just
Exactly.
sets devices in all over his home or wherever he goes, and then threatens his little spirit radio, says, "Oh, you better light up.
Say
You
this.
better,
Say this.
better."
He just waits there until it says something. Like he
Right,
probably will sit there for hours, and then if it's makes a sound, like it's just random noises at that point. Like if it doesn't do it on the first or second try, then it's not an intelligent response.
right, right. This guy is the kind of guy who thinks, oh, I'm one and done with scientific research. That's never true in this kind of field. Never true.
Never. It's like, yeah, some people just decide to ignore like any type of proper research methods. And I feel like he feels guilty of that and is trying to take it out on us. And that I can't stand for that.
Not only that, but obviously we can see that there's quite the detail in terms of his lack of education because obviously somebody should have taught him before he got into this field that you're not supposed to rely on one specific device. You
Exactly.
take
Yeah.
research from all kind of angles. You don't just,
Mhm.
a psychologist doesn't just focus on psychotherapy, for example. No. You don't
No.
focus on specific one thing for one kind of disorder, for example, but analogous to this situation, you don't focus on one kind of device and the kind of research that can provide, by constantly keep doing the same thing over and over again. And more importantly, this guy does the same thing over and over again in his videos. He's redundant. He has that spirit radio on for what, 10, 15 minutes, maybe even an hour sometimes. And he maybe gets one or two little, blurts or whatever. And it's a it's not even an intelligent response. It's unintelligent, if anything.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more with what you just said. So I did some more of my research on this guy. And basically, I found out that he works for an organization known as the Central Valley Historical Ghost Tour Adventures. So I don't know what kind of operation they're running, but I was thinking we could try to call their company and try to confront them about all this.
Yeah. I definitely think so. I definitely think we should. Because I don't want the general public to be misled about this kind of information. And this is one of the things that everybody should know. It's like anatomy or like, healthcare, like those kind of things, like it should apply to everybody. It's universal. This is a
Mhm.
universal subject. You especially cannot be misleading in this kind of information. And obviously, you know, it's part of my language, but they're hiring idiots, on this ghost tour because these people don't know what they're doing. I mean, they just
Mhm.
obviously just buy a device thinking it's going to provide all the end goals for them in this field. And that's never the case.
Mhm. All right. I'd say let's try to call him right now.
Hello. Please state your name after the tone, and Google Voice will try to connect you.
Carson French, Scientific Researchers of the Unknown.
The Google subscriber you have called is not available. Please leave a message after the tone.
Hello, Central Valley Historical Ghost Tour Adventures. My name is Carson French. I'm a researcher at Scientific Researchers of the Unknown. But I think you already know who I am. It appears that the person associated with your organization, known by the name Spirit Talk Ghostly Encounters by Ryan Privy. He has been misleading the public about the scientific method. He has been slandering my group's organization and our research methods, and he has also been doing research that is not valid, and it puts a big stain on the paranormal community and the scientific community as a whole. So if you get this message, I need you to call me back because we have some stuff to discuss. All right.
That was good.
Yeah.
And to add on, folks, speaking of Ryan Privy, I actually did some research of my own and I looked at his LinkedIn. So let's just see how special Ryan Privy really is. So this man's summary on his LinkedIn profile: I'm a psychic intuitive who specializes in reading photos, psychometry. Wow, I've been doing this on and off all my life, but really delved into my abilities the past 5 years. This is a side job that I do online predominantly. I've been doing this on and off all my life, but suddenly this is a side job. Okay, so, first of all, he contradicts himself there. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's continue. If interested, you can find me on mysticbid.com as Garmento Feeden and on eBay as a seller, Eye to the Soul Reader. I have also had listings on listia.com, but am currently not listing on there. Then what's the need to put that? You can also find me on Facebook as Ryan Psychic Intuitive Privy, and some typos and grammar mistakes here, or email me at
No, maybe we don't want to give out his email, but
okay, yeah, well, we won't give out his email.
yeah.
So you can find me on meetup.com under Central Valley Enlightenment and Spirituality. So yeah, he's part of some other groups as well, I guess, but he claims he was a psychic reader and that it's something he really specializes in. It's something he's been doing on and off all of his life, but he's been doing it a lot in the past 5 years, but suddenly it's a side job. And the other thing is, under his experience, he only has 3 roles, and guess what number 1 is? Psychic reader. So Mr. Privy over here isn't very privy of what he writes down. And if you ask me, this is a man who obviously, and he didn't even put down the dates. I mean, it doesn't even say the company or anything. He just wrote psychic reader, no dates, no information, nothing. And his other experience was historical ghost tours in the Central Valley and beyond, and NorCal. And he was part of Ghost Hunting and Paranormal Research USA, a role he's held for 7 years and 4 months. And he explains, a little bit of, the travel expenses, that kind of stuff. And, that's understandable because that's like a tour thing, right? And obviously, there are other members of his group who've been influenced in the right way of research. And, he's part of that, but maybe he has his little own niche within the paranormal. But before that, he claimed to have been an educator for the company Education since October 2002 all the way to February of 2023. Looking at this, that's what it looks like because it says 20 years and 4 months. So it says to present. I guess January 2023. But it's weird why it says 4 months. Anyways, his skills are teaching, public speaking, Facebook, Microsoft Excel, which I have no idea how he got that kind of Excel experience because none of anything he did, none of that stuff reflects his experience with Excel. Event planning, fundraising, training, nonprofits, Photoshop, team building, psychic. So if you ask me, this is a guy who basically, pardon my language, talks out of his ass. He claims to have native proficiency in English, which I'll accept, limited working proficiency in French, I'll kind of accept elementary proficiency in Portuguese. I'll accept and limited working proficiency in Spanish. I
Like
mean,
what?
if if I was this guy, if I only knew a few words in Mandarin, buddy, I'm not gonna write it down on my resume, okay? Because let's be honest, in the real world, you're not gonna carry an actual conversation because you
Exactly.
don't analyze all the facts and you don't really educate yourself well, and you're
Yeah.
trying to claim that you educate others. Come on,
Yeah.
please.
If a ghost was trying to communicate to him in Portuguese, he probably wouldn't even be able to know what he's saying if he only knows a couple words.
Exactly. Exactly. And the biggest thing, I mean, one of the biggest indicators that really ticks me off about this guy, his profile photo. I mean, he's wearing a cowboy hat and he's wearing like some neon graphic, like a yellow green shirt, and that like cowboy hat has like a little string that like drops it down, where his neck is that he can tighten his hat with. And he's kind of just making kind of like a side gesture, kind of like this with the hat, and it's not professional at all. I mean, it's
No.
not professional. I mean, you have to be professional in this field as well. And
Hmm.
if you ask me, this is a guy who kind of treats this field like it's, yeah, he even said himself it's a side thing. Like he contradicted himself. He obviously lacks the proper care. And I mean,
Right.
how can you validate somebody's authenticity whose lack of self-care for what they do is so high? Well, how can you listen to somebody like that? Because a person like that is flawed. I mean, a person like that, their opinion doesn't matter.
Hmm. And how do you expect someone to, you know, take care of business in the paranormal realm when they can't even like figure out what's going on with themselves, you know?
Right. And I got even the biggest thing in Carson. I know this is gonna make you real happy. Somebody else called out Mr. Ryan Privy for being a fake psychic, and he was caught slandering by Jerome Jones on May 10th, 2022. So that's the stamp on this clown. And guess what?
Hmm.
He has a photo of him too. Fake psychic and claimed criminal. Ooh.
Hmm.
Let's read into this more. And he said it's a terrible thing when someone commits a crime, but even worse when they are out to ruin your reputation for no reason. Ryan Privy, aka Ryan Ayers, is one of those people. He has been caught slandering Paranologies, the owner and sister companies. First, let's define slander. Slander, the action or crime of making a false spoken statement damaging to a person's reputation. Here is Ryan outright committing a crime publicly by telling people to leave a nice review. Ryan Privy stated on Facebook, Wes Neal, you should post a nice review on his hotel page, the historic Jefferson Hotel, since he used all of his con money to buy it and renovate it. And Jerome goes on to say, two people decided to leave us a bad review on our sister company's pages, and they will be included in the slander suit as well. Wes Neal's another one that will be on the slander suit because he has since backed off. Ryan the Psycho, ... sorry, Psychic continues to slander Paranologies. Now,
Hmm.
why would he want to do this? Is he a customer? No, we searched our records. He has never purchased from us. This is a complete outsider to Jerome and his business within this field. And he attacked them directly with no, I mean, it was completely uncalled for. There was no outside information that relates the two to any prior experience together, and this guy is slandering them. And then on top of that, Jerome goes on to say, so then why? Well, he thinks Paranologies scam people because there are lost orders people are upset about. In 2020, Paranologies had to temporarily shut down due to not being able to get parts because of the pandemic. We paused the store until we could get parts, which we did. Problem is, when we unpaused the store and all of our unfulfilled orders had been marked fulfilled, this means we had no idea who got what. And the
Oh
only
my.
thing we could do is reach out to our customers on how to get their orders by blogs and Facebook posts. So sadly, some never checked the site, got mad, and it was a complete, it seemed like a complete disaster, but Ryan jumped on the bandwagon and he's slandering paranologies and telling them to leave false reviews, which is in itself, it is a crime. And
Mm-hmm.
slander is when you make false accusations to hurt somebody's reputation. And keep in mind, these folks, most of them ended up getting their orders, even post-COVID. And so Jerome goes on to say, which he has done by sending people to attack my other company, the historic Jefferson Hotel, because he went out of his way to attack another part of his life. He left a false review to hurt my reputation, which is a crime, and sent others to do so as well. He wrote a fake review stating the hotel had bed bugs, which is a false statement and is damaging the reputation. And now a lot of people are complaining about him and what he did to them while on his tour. On his tour.
Oh,
that means
we need to look into this more. There's a lot.
We really need to look into this more. And honestly, folks, you know, it may even get a little bumpy. There may even be legal action involved because this guy obviously sounds like a criminal. You know, he sounds like a con man. I mean, look at, I mean, he's scamming people, he's lying to them, he's cheating others by slandering them, making their lives worse to gain an advantage. This is not class at all. This is the exact opposite. So Jerome goes on to say he does a ghost tour where he has allegedly taken people to a location not on the tour, the museum, and takes people's money and pockets it. Problem with this is that he does not own the tour, so that money he steals belongs to the owner. He's stealing money from the business. Folks, this stealing money that's supposed to go to the owner in your business, that is also what we call in the business world embezzlement, which is a very serious crime, which means Mr. Privy ain't gonna be looking so privy anytime soon. So somebody else also posted a video of Ryan having a history of doing these things, and they posted it on Facebook to call him out. And he also went on to say, here's another post we found about his scamming ways from a public account. And this person claimed that she and her boyfriend were threatened by Ryan Privies and Robert Ayers if they show up to Virginia City and try to investigate the Mark Twain Museum. These people are dangerous. I mean, dangerous.
Wow. I think we just uncovered a beast. I think there's a lot more to this Ryan Privy guy than we thought.
Exactly. And Jerome goes on to say he has a lot of other ventures he operates under. So for folks who want to get into this and want to, you know, understand what he does, he's involved in psychic photo readings. He's involved with psychic photo readings on eBay, and he is obviously the tour guide at Central Valley Historical Ghost Tour Adventures. He worked at ghost hunting, apparently, which I don't know where is that. His eBay store also sent a threatening message to Jerome also as well. So he called him a scam artist and even said he'll eliminate him, which is a direct threat. That is a direct threat, folks, which is actually and he goes on to say a terroristic threat and will be on the lawsuit. This is a guy who is already involved in a lawsuit. This is a guy who's obviously got to be maybe mentally challenged. I don't know. Something of the sort, because this is not normal behavior. And here he is stating that there will be more for you and that he has a lot of connections. Well, those connections are just fake Facebook friends that he has acquired because only two people chose what he do to have said, and those two people are his followers. And I'm willing to bet one of them is Ayers. And a lot of people who know what he said, they know he's fake and a scammer. And all those witnesses have been detailed in court. And Jerome goes on to say there will be more updates in the stories. We love dealing with bullying and sharing facts, and I'm sure there'll be more to come from this fake psychic. We'll post when we file the lawsuit and the outcome as well. Don't let people bully you online. It is a crime. That's the biggest one also. Cyberbullying. That embezzlement, death threats, combine those three, you're headed straight to the gulag.
Right. And I just
So-
want to say something to our listeners. Obviously, we don't want you to try to contact Ryan Privy and harass him at all. We don't want that. We're just letting everyone know this because we just want you to warn people that this man is dangerous. He is a criminal. And, well, can I say he's a criminal? We think he's a criminal. And, yeah, we just want you to be careful.
Exactly. Please take care of yourself, folks. And, thank you for listening to us uncover this demon of this, strange in itself. It's almost like a paranormal scenario in itself, uncovering somebody like this, somebody like, like the Ryan Privy. And I can't believe, I can't believe that this is his true self. I cannot believe that, we have somebody like that actually trying to make claims. And, there's all kinds of people out there, but at the end of the day, this is why you got to understand who's true to it and who's not, and who really cares for the betterment of the field itself.
Wow. Well, we definitely learned a lot today, but there still is a lot more to research. We're going to be keeping you guys updated on this case on Scientific Radio of the Unknown. So stay tuned for more episodes. If you made it to this point of the podcast, thank you for listening to the whole thing. If you want to learn more about our group, Scientific Researchers of the Unknown, you can visit srotu.org. That's SROTU.org. And we also have a documentary on Dyer Lane, which we discussed today, called Dyer Lane Beyond Paranormal. You can find that on Amazon Prime and on YouTube.
That's correct.
And Brandon, would you like to give any shout outs before we wrap it up?
Sure, folks. I'd like to give a shout out to Scott Martin and Paranormal Awakening, and I would like to thank them for their continuous support of our endeavors in Scientific Researchers of the Unknown and Scientific Radio of the Unknown. I would like to thank all you fans for your continuous support throughout the years. I know we've come and go a lot of times, and things haven't always been as pretty and as clear-cut as we would like them to be, but this would not be possible without you folks. And at the end of the day, your attention is what makes this possible. And, we have a passion to uncover what's within the unknown, and you folks just make it easy for us. So thank you so much.
All right. Stay safe and keep investigating the unknown. And as I always say, to know the unknown, you must unknown the unknown. Have a good night.